Good morning, students. Welcome back to the social science class. Today, shall we discuss about the new chapter, that is the post-independent India. In this lesson, we are going to learn the various aspects. They are effects of partition of India. The second one is the refugees issues, and then communal violence in between Hindu and Muslims, and to formation of new government. Then the integration of princely states like Junagadh, Hyderabad, Jammu, Kashmir and Pondicherry and many other states to integrated with one government. So then reorganization of states based on languages. Yes. Okay. My dear students, all of you know, all of you learned in the previous class about I want to ask a question. Who was the first viceroy of independent India? Okay, very good. Lord Mountbatten. Yes. This Lord Mountbatten sent to India by the British government. He was the last viceroy of pre-independent India and also the first viceroy of independent India. So then, 1947, what had happened? Yes, okay. India got independence. When? August 15th. Very good. But June 3rd, before that, before August 15th, 1947, June 3rd, Lord Mountbatten declaration of British government. What was the declaration of British government? India got independence. And also to decide to form India and Pakistan as separate nations. This was the declaration in 1947 at June 3rd. The separation of India and Pakistan as separate nations. Then effects of British, the divide and rule policy. This was the why the Pakistan and British, Pakistan and India was separated because of the policy of divide and rule by the British. Yes. Okay, let us learn about the partition of India. 1947, August 15th was a day of trouble, as well as joy. Yes, this is very important. The 1947, August 15th is not only a time of joy, but also it was a time of trouble for India because of our whole India had divided into two parts. Yes, because independence was earned with a lot of sacrifices and difficulties. Yes. Partition of the country and also created a lot of problems. Partition is not an easy job. After the partition, suffer so many things. So independence was earned with a lot of sacrifice. Before learning how the government handled this situation, we need to analyze the situation that was created. On the first hand, the partition of the country had created new problems like like shelter, and many problems were arose. The country was also burnt in communal fire. Millions of people from both the countries tried to choose their future in both the countries, in Pakistan and India. Both the countries of the people of the countries were choose for their future, which was better country for their bright future. Then it was a great challenge to offer a shelter and a food to refugees who arrived into the India from the Pakistan. Those who were choose the India to their bright future, those people having they must need a shelter, food and employment. So these all are challenge for the government. The number who arrived in India was more than the number that went into Pakistan. That is very important. For example, from Pakistan, if the people who had coming to the India number 2 lakh, if not exactly, from the India, many people were choose Pakistan. They were only 50,000 around. Like this, the number who arrived in India was more than the number that went into Pakistan. Yes, that was the major problem our India faced. Major problems like refugee crisis. Yes. Refugee crisis became a huge problem of our new government, because government had provided better facilities like shelter, employment, then land, yes, then education also, then health, yes, very good. Then next, social environment, very good. All these facilities, the government to provide the refugees. This was the major challenge for the new government. Secondly, The integration of princely states into the federal structure of India was a bigger problem. The second main problem faced by the government was the integration of princely states into federal structure of India was a bigger problem. So, because there were, in those days, there were around 562 princely states in India by then. How many princely states were there? 562 princely states. Very good. Most of the states, after showing initial hesitations, agreed to join the Indian federal structure government. Most of the princely states were not agreed to join federal government. But afterwards, some were the important princely states were not agreed to join, merged with the federal states. Those were Kashmir, Junagadh in north, Kashmir and Junagadh in north India, Hyderabad in South India. These are important princely states did not agree to join the federal structure easily. So Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who was the Prime Minister, who was the Home Minister, was handled this merging responsibility. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel handled this challenge efficiently and won success. And also he was successful in protecting the internal security of the nation in those days. Today, even if we have all facilities, if we have all facilities, although we cannot able to protect our internal security with our force in communal conflicts during present days. But in those days, it is very difficult. It was very difficult. Although Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was successfully protecting the internal security of our nation. The Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel set in motion the task of attaining the national integration. He took the task very successfully. He done it. The third one is the partition had damaged the economic system of India very deeply. Yes. Because there was a need to relook into the commerce, industry and trade in order to provide a better stability. Because of the colonial power that had abused the resources of India for more 2 centuries. Yes, Dadabhai Naoroji, you will heard about it, has discussed this issue more in his drain theory. Dadabhai Naoroji discussed in this matter in drain theory. In the previous classes we already studied. Fourthly, India had a challenge of creating its own constitution. It had to find its stability under its new constitution and had to emerge as a democratic republic. The fifth one is India had to protect its freedom. It was after years of struggle from its enemies. Yes, fifthly, India had to protect its freedom. India got independence through many struggles. After got a independence, there is another challenge was there. That was to protect the freedom. It was very difficult, more than getting a freedom country, because of many enemies were there. Fifthly, India, the present military power of India is now here inferior to any other. We need to look back into the history to know about its beginning. Yes. Under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the Constitutional Drafting Committee gave India a draft constitution. The draft constitution was accepted by the Constituent Assembly and gave India a unique constitution. This enabled the strengthening of executive, legislative and judiciary. This enabled this constitution, the new constitution was enabled the strengthening of executive, legislative and judiciary. The sixthly, since gender and caste based discrimination, based discrimination was natural to Indian society from ancient time. Since ancient time, the discrimination can be seen. To Indian, there was a need to strengthen the social fabric for the established social equality, to bring the social equality among the caste and gender discrimination. It also had to formulate new foreign policy and make arrangements of financial resources. India successfully faced all these challenges and emerged as the largest democratic country of the world. Just although many problems, facing many problems, India got development notably. So then the another thing is, after it got independence, the India faced the new problem, that was communal violence. Yes, communal violence. It is said to that people have lost more lives in communal violence than in wars. The clash that takes place on the grounds of religion creates panic in all the societies. Yes, the religion is there to keep the peace of the world, but our people, this is to create a panic among the people. Historically, India's experience is not different. India is a country of many religions. For example, we have a Christian religions, Buddhist, Islam and many religions we found in our country. India had to become a country of different religions due to numerous invasions of foreign rulers. This diversity was used by the British to create a divide and rule policy. Yes, with this religious suspicions entered public life, later leading communal violence. Like this Hindu-Muslim clashes took a nasty turn and resulted in many communal clashes, later leading to untold miseries. As a result, the North India had to face a lot of communal violence. Yes. Lakhs of Hindus and Muslims died in these communal clashes. Lack together. When India was celebrating its independence in a New Delhi, at the same time, Gandhiji was not there to celebrate getting independence. But where was he? The Gandhiji was in Naukali. Why? And other. Why? Because in fixing a meeting to victims, consoling them. Nehru, who was the first Prime Minister of independent India, could settle his administration of the basis of priority and could calm down the communal violence within months after independence. This was the very great job by Nehru, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was done it. The evil violence that emerged during the communal violence made Nehru to think about forming a secular nation. These incidents helped India to adopt secular principles in its constitution. Two leaders like Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad was the first education minister of India, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, and Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. He was Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, as called as Gadinoda Gandhi. Yes, these two were opposed the idea of Pakistan. Yes. Who were opposed the Pakistan belongs to Muslim categories. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad and Abdul Ghaffar Khan opposed the idea of Pakistan. They could not stop the partition of India. Even now, the communal clashes have continued. There are international angles to communal violence in present days. The Constitution of India has accepted religion as the personal choice of their individual. It foresees a situation where India remains a secular country. Yes. The Indians need to understand this intention. Indians need to understand this intention of the Constitution, live accordingly. Then the refugee crisis is a major problem which was faced in those days. Soon after the partition, refugee crisis became a huge problem. During this period, millions of people tried to find future either of the country. Then they have to leave their native places and move toward the place where people from their religion were a majority. Around 6 million exactly, not around 6 million refugees arrived in India from the Pakistan. The crisis ballooned in the beginning. But by 1951, most of refugees from the West Pakistan were taken care of. But the crisis of East Pakistan, by the crisis of East Pakistan is Bangladesh. Yes, the Bangladesh is merged with Pakistan, but it is in the part of East. Yes, it was caught in severe communal violence soon after the partition. As a result, the refugees were arriving till 1971. The Bengal Vimochana movement, which was supported by India, could finally liberate the Bangladesh. In 1971. The war resulted in the arrival of 10 lakh refugees to India. 10 lakh. Not in thousands, not in 1 or 2 lakh, it's 10,000 refugees arrived in India. They were helped by the government of India, governments of Tripura, Meghalaya and Assam to resettle them and find a new hope of life in India. Yes. Since most of the refugees from Bangladesh knew Bengali, most of the refugees from the Bangladesh who are come to India, they knew Bengali. They speak in Bengali. They attempted to settle in Bengal more. As a result, there was a huge stress on the West Bengal. Moreover, during 1960s and the 1970s, India itself faced an economic crisis. Major famines destroyed our financial security. Still, India did not leave its humanitarian concern and tried to provide better refugee facilities for them. Okay, what were all the effects? Shall we discuss? Refugees crisis became a huge problem of government of India and provided better facilities like shelter, employment, food and education also, health also. In 1960, government of Karnataka sanctioned 3,000 acres of land to Tibetan refugees at Bailakuppe, and now it has grown as one of the major Tibetan settlement in India. In spite of all these problems, their arrival has enriched our cultural diversity. Yes. Then another challenging task for a new government was to formation of new government is the major challenge. India was independent on 1945 August 15th. An interim government was formed, not a permanent government. Interim government was formed. Lord Mountbatten became the Governor General of India. Who was the first Prime Minister of India? Yes, Jawaharlal Nehru. Yes. C. Rajagopalachari was elected as the first Indian. On January 26, 1950, the Indian Constitution was adopted. When did Indian Constitution was adopted? Yes, January 26, 1950. Dr. Babu Rajendra Prasad became the first President of India. The Constitution declared India as the sovereign democratic republic. Through 42nd Amendment to the Constitution, words secular and socialist were added in the year 1976. Government of India followed an independent foreign policy. India adopted parliamentary type of democracy. So, today India has its own foreign policy. India has full freedom to show friendship towards another nations. Okay. Thank you, my dear students. I will be continue the next part of this lesson. Okay, thank you.
In March 1947, Earl Louis Mountbatten and his wife Edwina arrive in New Delhi. The great-grandson of Queen Victoria and second cousin to George VI, Mountbatten brings a regal presence to the drama of India's independence. As the last viceroy, he bears responsibility for India's fate.
2nd of April, 1947. I have now completed my first week in office. I should like to be able to paint an encouraging picture of my first impressions, but feel it would be misleading if I did so. The scene here is one of unrelieved gloom. At this early stage, I can see little common ground on which to build any agreed solution for the future of India. The only conclusion I have been able to come to is that unless I act quickly, I may well find the real beginnings of a civil war on my hands.
By May, attempts to create a unified India have failed. Gandhi retreats from political life. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, leader of the Muslim League, and Jawaharlal Nehru of the Indian National Congress concede to divide India. Fearing a total loss of control, Mountbatten brings forward the transfer of power to August. Two nations will be created by partition, a secular India and a new homeland for India's Muslims, Pakistan. Independence, Nehru addresses the people of India.
Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
The 15th of August, 1947. The British Empire in India has come to an end. The last Viceroy, Louis Mountbatten.
The flag raising and the salute were done amid scenes of the most fantastic rejoicing. And as the flag broke, a brilliant rainbow appeared in the sky, which was taken by the crowd as a good omen.
Qasim Muhammad.
On the 15th of August came freedom. The freedom to burn, loot and murder. While Delhi and Karachi were celebrating, central Punjab was burning.
Between August 1947 and March 1948, 4.5 million Hindus and Sikhs are forced to migrate from Pakistan to India. 6 million Muslims must move in the opposite direction. Britons and Indians witnessed the bloodshed. Shahid Ahmed.
It is a battleground. People have gone mad. Trains to Pakistan are being looted and occupants slaughtered. We all knew that carnage was in the offing. So did Mountbatten. The British Empire, which tried to build India over centuries, can never live down this great tragedy.
Lieutenant Colonel Hubert Boyd Hudson.
The sight from the air was awe-inspiring. In this chaos, millions of refugees were struggling to get to India or Pakistan. Thousands of others were doing their best to prevent them, murdering them by the hundred. But death is nothing. There are things more terrible than death.
"10 million people are displaced in the partition of India. 1 million are dead." By the summer of 1948, most of the British have left. Hubert Boyd Hudson has been in India for 15 years.
India is full of ghosts. Houses I have lived in, now inhabited by Indians, remind me of the days which will never come again. When the Viceroy drove past with a cavalry escort in red coats, I have seen the greatness of the British in India, but now it is all ended, and we are the last to leave, the few who are trying to tidy up the mess which the sudden splitting of an old empire has caused.
Britain has lost its greatest imperial possession. Mahatma Gandhi once said that if India became free, the rest of the empire would follow. In the next 10 years, the fire of India's independence will spread around the globe, from the Middle East to Africa.